All right, YouTube Repo Man 64. Reading audio not. Let me check the audio real quick. Looks like it's working. Yep, should be on. By now, you've all heard that Sinwar is dead. And it wasn't that they did this big military operation and they went out and they found him and killed him. No, it was a soldier who went up against three armed um, Hamas fighters and shot, or he launched a grenade, I believe, and killed three of them. And when they went in to check, they found that one of them was Sinwar. Now, that's huge. When did it happen? On the Hebrew timeline, there's two timelines. Well, there's two timelines that I look at. And it appears as though almost all timelines are taking play in what we're seeing. Today was the day, and I kind of had to wait till after 7:26 p.m. in Israel time for the full moon to be at its fullest, um, for us to say that it's the rapture is not going to occur on the full moon. However, it put things into motion. The Essene timeline that I use, starting the year on the day of equal parts, today is exactly 7 days before Noah enters the ark. And again, you'll see that a lot of the timelines that people use, they will abandon them to say, yes, the flood happened on Heshvan 17, October 31st, forgetting all the math that they did, and then go right back to that math after Halloween passes or the flood date passes and nothing happens. They seem to go back to their timelines. I would just say, you say that's the flood, just as in the days of Noah, and you know when it happened. Most cultures recognize that something major catastrophically occurred on October the 31st, November the 1st. Most cultures recognize the Day of the Dead, Halloween around the planet. They know this date. And if we just go to that date and use math, sun comes up, give it the day before would be Heshvan 16th, be October the 30th. And the day before that would be Heshvan 15th. You know, did I say November? October the 29th. So um, for me, it's simple. So a lot of news is going on. Why did this happen today? It's some of the biggest news that, and he was like the orchestrator of everything down there. Will they find the hostages now that they found Sinwar? You know, he had to be close to them. I imagine right now Israel is scouring through the tunnels in this area trying to find the remaining. I think there's about 100 hostages, of which they think 50% are still alive. Or are, I don't know. Is that the next piece of news that we're going to see? So I want to get into the pictures. I have quite a bit of math that I went through, and this fly is just, it's like a gnat, won't leave me alone. Um, a lot of information that we can look at to see where we're at. And uh, in my little chat group that I have with Spinebreaker and with Tony, the Cataclysm Tony Early's YouTube, and with Will over at Worship and Watch, I made a comment. I said something huge. If we're on the right track, something huge will happen on the day the Jews are calling the first day of tabernacles. That was today, and it did. It delivered. They got Sinwar. That's huge. So when does the when do the Jews view? And remember, God says, "I hate your feast days." He hates them because they're on the wrong day, but He's still going to look at them. So on October the 24th, 25th, again, I have that 1 day issue because the Gregorian calendar is 365 and a quarter days, and the Essene calendar, the Enoch timeline has 364. And so I have that 1 day issue I'm always struggling with where to put it and everything else. So I digress. October the 24th, 25th is when Noah enters the ark. And I had a really cool discussion with Private Pilot. That's his YouTube name. I don't know if he has a YouTube, but he made I think you have to have a YouTube to make a comment. I'm not sure how that works, but he said, "What makes you think that Noah went into the ark and then God shut the door?" I used to think that until I studied it out. And Noah went into the ark. The door stayed open for 7 days. And then when it began to rain, God shut the door. So he sits in the ark for 7 days with the door open. I'm going to show that to you. And so we go back and forth in this conversation, and it's really cool. And the last day of tabernacles, what the Jews are viewing as tabernacles, is the day that Noah enters that ark. The door was always open. The door's been open. He's been building this ark with the door open, but he goes inside and he sits there. He loads everything up. Methuselah dies on this day. He loads everything up. And then on his birthday, when he's 600 years old, God shuts the door. The flood begins. So let me get into the pictures here. I got to share the screen before I do that. That would have been catastrophic. All right. It's your screen sharing. Okay. Let's bring this up. All right. We've discussed this. When is the Luke group, the bride? There's another name people are Brenda Wetler, I heard her saying it's the sons of God. Semantics for me. When's the first group going? The first group is going when we see all of these things take place here in Luke 25. If you go over here to Mark, you'll see another laundry list of things that have to take place. And here in Matthew, yet another laundry list of things that have to take place. Mark, the tribulation saint, Matthew, the Jew that will go into the millennium, will see all of these events. This group here will not see the events in Mark on this earth, and we will not see the events here in Matthew. We will go when these few signs have been completed. This is the longest dispensation that we are currently in. The next dispensation will be 7 years long. And then the next dispensation after that will be the 1,000-year millennium. It'll be 1,000 years long. During that 1,000 years, Satan will be chained up. And towards the end, we think perhaps it's going to be 1 year. Towards the end, because of the way the Jubilee cycles land, towards the end, he will be loosed and he will deceive the people in the millennium. They are not saved yet. They are sinners. They can die. They have to eat. They have to eat of the tree. I think it said there's 12 different fruits for 12 different months in order to bring their health back. It won't be like us where, you eat something that has a piece of plastic in it or smoke a cigarette, suddenly you're dying of cancer. That will be a thing of the past. The pain and delivering babies will be over. When you plant something, it'll grow up really nice. There won't be any thistles anymore during that 1,000 years. However, at the end of the 1,000 years, Satan will bring on a deception that he's been planning for 1,000 years while he's chained up. He's been planning this deception, and he will be let loose to complete that last year of that dispensation. That might even be another dispensation that last year. I don't know. What are we looking for? There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. We've seen the Revelation 12 sign. That's done. We've seen this second moon come in. We've seen what now I'm going to forget big channel Bob over at my brain. End Times, Dreams and Visions. Sorry about that. I have the worst memory when it comes to names. End Times, Dreams and Visions. Bob has surmised that this star that we're looking at, that we're going to see, is the Jacob star. And it's, I guess it's being seen right now. You can see it right now. Go outside and see its tail whipping around the sun. So, Again, stars. Upon the earth, distress of nations. We're seeing that. Israel's had enough. They're tired of getting bombs lobbed at them every chance. Iran just buys a new batch. They're just lob them over there. They don't get too far because God protects them in that. They are a very wealthy nation and can afford the highest technologies to protect themselves. But who wants to live like that with an iron dome, always having to protect you from people that would just lob bombs into your country? No other country on the face of the earth would have to put up with that garbage. And so Israel has, and they're done with it now. And while they are hearing the world telling them, you have to stop, if this were happening anywhere else on the world, nobody would be saying to stop. So they're held to a different standard. Why? Because the people hate Israel. They hate God, and Jesus comes from Israel. Jesus is Jewish, and they hate Jesus. Therefore, they hate Israel. And that's plain and simple. If you don't support back Israel, 110%, you are not behind God. There is no other way around it. I know comments will come in. Yeah, you can. They're part guilty. I don't care. Israel, we back them. That's the end of it. I don't want to hear anything else. They getting bobs lobbed at them for the past 20, 30 years, and it's over with now. And everybody wants apparently that to happen to Israel, but those days are gone. So the last thing we're waiting for, the sea. It's cold out here. It's like 65. It's terrible. The rest of the country's like, shut up. The last thing we're waiting to see is the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, for looking after these things which are coming on the earth. And I have surmised that one of two things: the waves and the seas are roaring. I found verses in the Bible that point to people as being called waves and seas, and I'll show you that verse. And also this huge earthquake that we might see as that plate, continental plate, the Pacific continental plate that's under North America, slips out and displaces all that water. Men's hearts will be failing them after watching 100-foot waves coming at them for sure. So that is a second scenario of that might be happening. Hold on a second here. Let me move the picture. All right. Now, this is with a verse where it shows that the people might be used in describing the waves of seas. Woe to the multitude of many people which make noise like the noise of seas, and the rushing of nations that make rushing like the rushing of mighty waters. Nations shall rush like the rushing of many waters. So you see there where the Bible is describing men as, or mankind as it's rushing around. And that is what's happening right now with what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in North and South Korea, with what's going on with China, and I'm going to forget the other country, but all, Israel and Iran, and all of these things are going on that we've never seen before on all fronts. So that's what's happening right now. So in essence, this is also being fulfilled. Look up, because your redemption draws near. It's about to happen. We're about to go home. And thus far, I would like to say we pinpointed the day, but so far that hasn't happened. And I showed you this before. That is not new moon. That is new month. It doesn't mean full moon, sliver moon, quarter moon. It doesn't mean, it means month. Hodesh, or however you pronounce that, Chodesh. I say Chodesh because it's CH. But the Rosh Chodesh, or the new month, means new month. And now that the new month is gone, because it's gone now, we're in Heshvan. The new month always being Tishri, that entire month, and the Sabbath, which occurs 1 to 2 days, depending on the Gregorian calendar and how it lands, after that new month is gone, which has also passed. So that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small, the shekel great, and falsifying the balances. They're waiting for the bride to be gone. The sons of God, whatever, the first group, they're waiting for the first group to be gone so that they can begin deceiving everybody else to say that was not a rapture, that was aliens, that was this, that was that. They evaporated when that nuclear bomb went off. There would be so much chaos. Right now, if something catastrophic like that occurred, people would be on the phones going, "What did it?" And it would require emergency services to come out. However, if there's a huge flood coming, there's no emergency services. Everybody's going home to protect their family, to get out. They're not going to stay. If there is a bomb dropped where lots of people die, they're not coming out. Lots of people died. You pick up the pieces after that type of an event. Um, so that's what we're looking for is once the rapture occurs, everything's going to fall apart on them. And it's not because they're waiting for us to go. That's for sure. What the restrainer is doing right now. That's why we're always like, I don't understand why it hasn't happened. They can't. We're still here. It's being restrained. And we're witnessing that firsthand, and we should know why it hasn't happened, and that's why. The next event coming is going to be the rapture, possibly seeing some kind of an earthquake where the waves and seas roar, but we shouldn't be seeing the people roaring right now. So let me keep going forward. I have a lot of pictures. I've been working on this. Now, let me enlarge this so you can see it a little better. I showed you this before. On this date, October the 16th, there will always be 11 hours and 22 minutes of daylight. Always. It never changes. That's how they know what day it is. That's how they set the days. That's how they set up the days back in the day with Gregory. That's how they set up the days back in the day with Julian, the Julian calendar. Remember, the Gregorian is a patch fix for the Julian calendar. The Julian calendar by now is off by 13, 14 days. It was 10 days in what year was it? It was 1582 when the Gregoria fixed it, moved it by 10 days because it was that far off by the time they got here. And I'll show that to you. Now, notice on the 16th, there's always 11 hours and 22. And I found this. I thought this was cool. And I don't know exactly what it means. October 22nd, which really falls in the middle. Like, I believe, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, eighth day is Shemini Atzeret. It's the last day of Tabernacles. The last day of Tabernacles will always have 11 hours and 7 minutes of daylight. But here on, and I don't know if anybody wants to work on this or not, but here on October the 22nd, there will always be 11 hours and 11 minutes in it. Now, because I don't completely trust the website to have the seconds right, I think that as we move through the years, the seconds change slightly. I don't know if you're using a computer program or if they're falsifying this slightly so you don't recognize that the exact same moment happens every single year without fail on the 22nd. Now, this is the year 2024. I guess I could have enlarged it. Let me see here. Yeah, this is the year 2024, October 16th. And on the 22nd, we have 11 hours and 11 minutes. Okay. Let's go ahead to the year 2599. One of the people in Discord noticed that every 4 years in a leap year, this doesn't work exactly. It's a few seconds off, or more than a few seconds off, like a minute off, and it regulates itself in a non-leap year. And I think it's them trying to keep it a certain amount of time each day. I don't know what's happening, what dynamics is taking place for that to happen. But look here. Again, on the 16th, there will be 11 hours and 22 minutes. Always. October the 16th will always have that. And here on the 22nd, it will always have 11 hours and 11 minutes. So if you were going to say, what day is it? You could say it's the day that has 11 hours and 11 minutes in it, and you'll never be wrong. It will always be that. Here we are almost 600 years into the future. It doesn't change. This is why I've started the timeline where I have. No other timeline can say or do this. They jumble around, jump for the sliver of the moon, the full moon, all this other stuff. But you can go yourself into time and date and look at this and see that it never moves. Halloween, the day the flood began, will always have, and again, with their seconds, it might jump a little bit here, but in the year 2599, 600 years from now, October the 31st will always have 10 hours and 56 minutes in it. We go down here, enlarge, in the year 2024, Halloween has 10 hours and 55 minutes in it. Again, the seconds are off, but 10 hours, 56 minutes. It's always the same. So we go here to 1600. This is where in 1582, Pope Gregory changed the calendar as a patch fix to the Julian calendar. So time and date actually didn't fix it. You can go into time and date. I think it's 1792 or 1795, somewhere around there, where time and date picks up that fix, because the entire planet didn't accept the fix of Pope Gregory for quite some time. It actually took about 200 years. And wherever time and date initiated from, that country didn't recognize the fix for quite a while. As a matter of fact, a lot of countries had both years on there, both dates on there. One would say October 6th, and the other, and then October 16th, to match up with the ever growing amount of countries that were accepting Pope Gregory's patch fix to the calendar. So here we have in 1600, remember it's off by 10 days. This is actually the 16th. We're still at 1122. This is actually the 22nd. We're still at 1111. And then down here on the 21st, which I think was the 22nd on the other one, again, time and date, not completely accurate, but 1055. So try to look at that and do your math from a specific day. There will never be another day that has 11 hours, 11 minutes in it. On the opposite side of the calendar, where the days begin to get longer in February, you'll be close. But what it'll do is 11 hours, 12 minutes, and 11 hours and 10 minutes. It'll be in the middle of these two. It'll appear here. So I could actually put February, I don't remember what date, 11/12. And then February, I don't know what date, I could put 11/10. So it would never match up perfectly. The seconds, I don't know if this is computer generated, how they get these seconds, but to me, the planet is as solid as it can be. It never changes. The sun will always have the day of equal parts on March 16th. Always. It never changes. So that's why the year starts on the 17th. All right. Now, remember Solomon holds this feast. This is where we're going with this right now. At the time Solomon held a feast and all Israel with him. Remember, this is going to be 1 Kings 8:55. And at that time Solomon held a feast and all Israel with him, a great congregation, from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt, before the Lord our God 7 days and 7 days, even 14 days. So on the 8th day, it was also the first day of the next 7 days, the total of 14 days. On the 8th day, he sent the people away, and they blessed the king and went into their tents. This sounds a lot like us going tabernacling with God, us being raptured. And when does this happen? Well, the Jews say it happens on October the 17th begins the feast. October the 24th begins the end of the 7 days, and the 8th day, and counting the 8th day as the first day, ends on October the 31st when the ark door is shut. This is the day Noah entered the ark. This is the day the feast began. This is the day this year, this is unique, this doesn't happen very often, but this is the day the Jews are calling the first day of tabernacles. The last day of tabernacles will be here, the day that Noah entered the ark. And if we go by this passage, the 8th day will, I think this 24th night becoming the 25th, I have to look at it, but the 8th day will also be the first day to come to here, to the flood. All right. Now, this is where we sit. Oh, I can't do it that way. Hold on. I have to zoom it in like this so I can move it around. Okay. There we go. This is the day where we're sitting right now. This is the full moon. This is the first day at nightfall on the 16th began tabernacles. This is the first day of tabernacles as to what the Jews are looking at. In order for God to bring the Jews to jealousy, I believe he has to, or he will use their timeline. And their timeline shows today as being the first day of tabernacles. This will be the last day, the eighth day of tabernacles. And then if we go by what I just showed you with Solomon, he went another 7 days, this being the first day, and this is the seventh day, another 7 days, and the flood begins. So you see these 3 weeks here in sync. And it's 14 days, but if you go inclusive, it's 21 days. Is this the 21 days that are being held up? I don't know. So over here is where tabernacles actually took place. This, ironically, when I look at Solomon and say, well, if Solomon did 14 days, how would that fit on when it actually happened? This is tabernacle, September 29th at nightfall, becoming the 30th. Jesus' name is circumcised, October 6th at nightfall, becoming October the 7th. But this is 7 days, 8 days. This is 8 days right here. Where do I see Solomon's 14 days? Remember, Solomon was the wisest of all. God, he asked for wisdom. That's what he got. He didn't ask for anything but wisdom, and God gave him wisdom. So why would Solomon go against Levitical law, making tabernacles, not 7 days, and the eighth day, Shemini Atzeret? Why would he change it to 14 days? Because here, this year in 2024, it fits only in this year. All the math that we're doing comes to this year. It does not work in 2025. It is not 6,000 years from creation. It is not 2,000 years plus the 7 to 2031 in order to fit the fig tree generation and Jesus 2,000 years ago being here. It doesn't fit the fig tree generation. The fig tree generation ends in 2028. You back up 3.5 years and you fall right here in this time frame where we're at now. I don't recall exactly. I think it might have been, I'll have to look. It might have been November the 8th. Where's November the 8th? Right here. It might have been here, November the 8th. So you have an event here as well. So high watch days every day now. I don't think it can go past this. Again, they'll call this tabernacles. They will say that tabernacles is on these days, Tishri 15 to Tishri 22. That's what they will say. They will assign it to Heshvan 3 to Heshvan 10. They're off by, I think it's, what is that, 20 days, 21 days? They're off by 21 days, but this is the only way to bring the Jews to jealousy is if it hits on their day. And then for God to say, they think it's tabernacles, but guess what? It's actually the day I told Noah to get into the ark. So it works on both timelines. Now, when you Google or just wait for 1 more week. Watch all the YouTubes come out that say the flood, in fact, began on October the 31st, Heshvan 17. They all will. But they will jump from tabernacles, which is supposed to be, I don't know if that's supposed to be quite a ways away, I guess 21 days, 17, 20, 50, almost 28 days, 28 days off. They'll jump 28 days. They'll call this the date, the flood, the anniversary of the flood, 28 days, but then they'll go back afterwards. I don't think we're going back. I think we're going to heaven when this door, again, the door's been open this whole time. It's shut here. And I think that the rapture could very well occur when God told Noah to get into the ark. So really high watch day is coming up. This is the fourth Pentecost here. It happens on Heshvan 16, October the 30th. I believe Sister Sandy said that's her birthday. Happy birthday. This is the fourth Pentecost. You can look it up. There's four Pentecost events spoken of in Acts. And if we apply the 50 days like Pentecost is and means, it lands here on October the 30th. And in this fourth Pentecost, it's kind of obscure, but it is talking about the Jews and the Gentiles together accepting the Lord. And wouldn't this be the best Pentecost? Because in this Pentecost, we have a lot of Jewish people that now do believe that Jesus is Lord. I mean, you can't read Isaiah 53 and miss what happened. It was as plain as it could be in Isaiah 53. And you know that YouTube channel, Isaiah 53 also. It was as plain in the Old Testament as they could possibly read it. And to this day, they try to avoid that passage because it convicts them. It convicts them of what they did. All right, so we're here. I think the rapture could occur. We have 8 days from today to this day when they go into the ark. Also, this is the Shemini Atzeretz that they call. This is also Shemini Atzeretz, the day that Israel was attacked. However, it happened back here, the night of the 6th, coming into the morning of October the 7th. Shemini Atzeretz was complete when they were attacked. So, and again, I had that 1 day issue. I had Sister Sandy move it down here to November 10th, 11th, because I really don't know where to place it. I almost need to progress it because 24 hours is a huge jump when it progresses by minutes each day. So keep an eye out for these 8 days. Shemini Atzeretz, what they're calling, is also the day that Noah went into the ark. All right. As you can see, October 16th, the evening of being October the 17th, which is today, to completing the 23rd, the 24th being the end of Shemini Atzeret. And this would be it right here. So let's keep going. Did a bunch of math. Let's see here. Yeah. From Saturday, May 13th, 2028, the last possible moment that Israel is a nation for 80 years. If you subtract 1,290 days, I'm going to show you all kinds of, and everybody's noticing this. All the math is pointing to this flood, the flood or the open door. It's pointing to both of them. May 13, 2028, subtract 1,290 days, and it lands squarely on the flood. All right. From the flood to atonement, Friday, November the 1st, 2024, if you add 2,520 days, this was a comment that I got. I don't recall where it was, but somebody sent me a comment. I don't want to just claim this as my own. They did this, and I was like, oh, that's cool. The flood to atonement, November the 1st, October the 31st, 1 day issue. The Day of Atonement in 2031, the Jews will recognize it as being September the 26th. This is 1,260 days, 1,260 days. Again, that was a comment sent to me. And I was like, that's cool. That's cool. A lot of people are doing math right now, but it all is revolving around the flood. It's incredible, actually. All right. And like I said, they are going to view Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, as September the 26th, the evening, Friday, September the 26th, like I said. So September the 26th. All right. Now, more math. When we do the 1260, the 1260 and the 1290, we come up to 2,550 days from the date of the flood to the 2,550 days. We see that it lands on the day that Noah entered the ark. Thought that was pretty interesting that it landed at 1,260, 1,290. Now, The earthquakes. This is what I'm talking about. The waves of the seas roaring. Have you been seeing this? This is an older, I think, a picture from last night when I was setting all this up. Look at all these 5.0s. This land right here is being crushed because the North Pacific plate is sliding to the left, sliding westward. As it does, it's going to become unhinged or come out from under the North American plate. This plate right here, the Pacific plate, is underneath North America. When it comes out, the water displacement here is going to be catastrophic for the planet. Look at all of these earthquakes. They're just hammered all over the place here, 5.0, and they're working their way north to California. And this boundary right here, you can see where it goes under California. It's going to be something else on that day, and it's coming. And that would be something we would look for the waves of the seas roaring. I got this off Facebook, I think. Well, I wrote it, so I must have got this off Facebook. But they did some, or maybe it was Aaron. I don't remember who did this. But if you go from when Israel was a nation on May 14th, 1948, and you add 888 months, 888 days, you land right here in October the 18th, which I thought was really cool. That's literally right um, where we're at as of tomorrow. This ends the first day of Tabernacles and comes to here. And I'm sure if I did this just straight from May 14th to October 18th, it would show us that it would be uh, an exact number to October the 18th. 888 months, 888 days. That's the only way you can do it, though, to see that. Thought that was really interesting. Like I said, a lot of people are doing math right now. Spinebreaker sent me this. He was and I was looking at the full moon going across the band of Pisces, and the sun, of course, is in the wheat, being held in Virgo. This happened Israel time on October 17th, 2024 at 7:26 p.m. Did this start a countdown? Is that what the 7:26 means? Remember, and I'm going to show you this. It's very obscure when you're reading the account of Noah getting into the ark and God shutting the door. It almost looks like he shut the door as soon as Noah got into the ark, but he didn't. Noah sat in that ark, or I guess I already went over that. Noah sat in that ark for 7 days, and then God shut the door. When God speaks of an event, he's speaking of a time frame. It kind of says he shut the door, but it actually doesn't. It's a time frame of that 1 week. That was it. That was the last week. Judgment had been made. Noah had already gone in. The door was left open just to see if anybody else would make that choice. They all saw him go in. They're all sitting out there mocking and scoffing, laughing at every calculation we can think of. And we're all wrong until we're not. There's going to come a day when we're not wrong. And you're going to be kicking yourself that you didn't invest your time to try to help figure it out because you didn't believe that this event was going to take place. You didn't invest any time to help figure it out. You invested your time in mocking at every wrong date. And we've all done it. There isn't a single watcher out here who hasn't called a date 1 million bazillion percent and was wrong. Absolutely categorically wrong. Does that mean the Holy Spirit's not with them? Absolutely not. That's silly to say that. Do we have complete understanding of all this quite yet? No. But we're getting closer and closer. This is winding down. We're seeing what's going on. So we just keep going forward. Oh, maybe this is where it's at. Yeah. I had talked about it, but I didn't show you the Bible verse. Genesis 7. Let's read this very closely, and I'm going to show you the door was open. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters was upon the earth. When was Noah 600? When is Noah's birthday? Birthday's October the 31st. His birthday's on Heshvan 17. That's his birthday because on that day he was 600 years old. It wasn't about 600. It wasn't 600 and something. On that day he was 600 years old. And what happened when he turned 600? the flood waters were upon the earth. And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife, and his sons' wives with them into the ark because of the flood waters. Now, right there, you say, all right, he went in when it started to rain, and God shut the door. But let's keep going. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. Wait a second. It says here that he was 600 years old when the flood began, and they went into the ark because of the flood. But here it says God commanded him to get in the ark, and then after 7 days is when the flood waters were upon the earth. You see how God words this to make us search a little bit closer. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month and 17th day of the month, the same day, that's where you stumble. The same day were all the fountains of the deep broken up. What same day? Monday. The flood began on a Monday. The self same day simply means 1 week later. He went into the ark on a Monday. He sat there with the door open. God did not shut that door until the rain waters began. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood, after 7 days, that the flood waters were upon the earth in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month and 17th day. Happy birthday, Noah. We're destroying the planet. Get into the ark. Sit in there for 7 days. And then on your birthday, I'm going to shut the door and flood the planet. 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the deep broken up. Same day as what? The same day. If he told them on Monday to get into the ark, on Monday is the same day, 1 week later, when the flood waters were broken up. In the self same. Whenever you see the word self same, it means that it's exactly 1 week later. It is, if it's a Sunday, 1 week later, it'll be a Sunday. It means that if you're standing on Sunday and you begin counting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you'll have 7 days. If you count the day you're standing on inclusive, it means you'll have 8 days. That's how Shemini Atzeretz works. It is 8 days, but it is, and that's inclusive, but it's exclusive if you don't count the first day. In the self same day, Noah entered the ark, which means he entered on a Monday. 7 days later, the flood began, and God shut the door. All right. And they went in unto Noah in the ark, two by two, and they that went in were male and female of all flesh, and God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. He shut him in on the day the flood began. He shut him in on his birthday. He shut him in 7 days after he was ordered to go into the ark. On the same day he went into the ark is the day his grandfather, Methuselah, died. He went in, grandfather Methuselah died on October the 24th, on Heshvan 10. That's the day he died. He buries him. He gets into the ark. All these animals go in. He sits there, gets everything situated. He's doing all of his stuff, but the rain doesn't physically start for 7 days. And then on Noah's birthday, God shut the door. All right. Okay, so I was curious, and I'm still curious if anybody knows when the Feast of Tabernacles occurred, when Jesus went there. He went there mid Feast of Tabernacles. So did Jesus, and it says very clearly, Jesus told his brothers he wasn't going to the feast because he knew the leaders in Judea wanted to kill him. All right. So he says, I'm not going. But then he goes. He waits 4 days because Tabernacle is 8 days long. The Feast of Tabernacles was a major Jewish feast that was likely crowded, which allowed Jesus to arrive and teach in the temple in secret. Jesus made his public appearance halfway through the feast and spent a lot of time condemning the religious leaders as liars and hypocrites. They're going to kill me, not going to go, but I do go, and it's halfway through. But I got to avoid these people and hide from them. But then I'm going to publicly mock them and tell them that they're liars. Something's off about this story. It doesn't add up unless Jesus only went down there on the correct calendar, which was 4 days later. As you will see in this, I forget what year it is. It might be, is it 2028 or 2031, where um, Hanukkah actually lands on December the 9th, which is one day later than when I see Hanukkah landing on December the 8th. It almost matches. Did Jesus go down to Tabernacles 4 days later because they were celebrating it 4 days too early? As you can see, that their calendar and their feast days, God hates. He wasn't going to show up. It was the wrong day. But 4 days later, it was accurate. The trumpets, as I showed you, starts on September the 15th. They celebrated it on the sliver moon on, what was it, October the 3rd, I think. They were, like I said, 18 days late. It won't be the same way next year. In next year, it'll be closer or further away. And we'll continue to do math if we were still here, but I don't think we're going to be. But did Jesus go down there? Because this verse, or this understanding of the verse, clearly shows Jesus didn't want to go because they were going to kill him, but he went. Jesus wanted to go in secret, but then he calls them out in public. I don't. It doesn't add up to me. The reason he went 4 days later was because in that year, Tabernacles did not begin when it was supposed to on what is it? It'll be September the. Let me go look. Tabernacles had to begin on, let's see, if it's Tishri 1, if Tishri 15, it would have to begin on, September the 30th. What am I thinking? That's his birthday. September the 30th. In this year, he went down 4 days later. He went down on October the 4th. Did he go down there on October the 4th? Because in this year is the year where they called tabernacles on October the 4th. And he knew that that was actually the first day of Tabernacles, which is why he sat there and waited for 4 days. I would be curious if anybody knows when Tabernacles landed in the year 30, 31, 32. And in whatever year it lands on October the 3rd, 4th is the year that Jesus was crucified. That was the year. That would be another way to figure it out. I don't have anything that goes back that far. So, all right. Jesus, just to show you the Bible verse, this is in John 7, 13. Howbeit, no man spake openly of him for fear of the Jews. Now in the, what is it, 7:14. Now about the midst of their feasts, the ones that God hates, Jesus shows up into the temple and taught. You see, he showed up 4 days later in the middle of the feast. I think he showed up in the middle because that was actually the first day of Tabernacles. That's just a guess that I'm going on here. All right. John 10, and this is Hanukkah. And it was in Jerusalem, the Feast of Dedication, and it was winter. We know that winter starts before December the 8th because that's actually when Hanukkah is. So at some point before December the 8th, winter starts. And then, of course, Jesus says, I and my Father are one. There's a lot of people that doubt Jesus was God. They are one. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, triune God, all three. This person left me a comment, and I wanted to address it because I made a comment. Stop stating I'm going to go to heaven in shine shoes and open doors and live in a tent. And I said, Jesus didn't save you as the first group so that you could get there and live in a tent, shine shoes, and open doors. You are going to get a mansion or out of iron crowns as you will hand back to the one that deserves them, a banquet, and you will, in essence, be marrying Jesus. You'll be his right hand. So it says, I'd rather be a doorkeeper. And they find the verse, of course. Who is this speaking to? Who do you think this is speaking to right now? This is speaking, I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. Psalms 84 is speaking to the Jew. The Jews that, or anyone, but for that matter, that's going to hell, and they will tell themselves, the rich man and Lazarus, rich man would have rather been a doorkeeper in heaven. He knows he could never attain the mansion, the banquet, the rod of iron. So if Jesus has truly covered you, then this is what you will get. You will get a mansion, a rod of iron, a crown, a banquet. You will be named sons of God. You will be elevated to a position that you don't deserve. But you're not supposed to want this lower status unless you'd rather have this lower status than go to hell. This verse is speaking to Psalms 84, and Psalms 84, the year, whatever, what is it, 2584, whatever the year the Jews are in, or is it 5984? I don't remember, but this is speaking to them. It's not speaking to the bride. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is a conversation, Kevin. I had called this. I'll be the first to admit, Mike called this Sin War. I said something huge, catastrophic, some huge news that will circle the planet will come out on the day they call the first day of Tabernacles. First day of Tabernacles, I call 7 days prior to Noah entering the ark. So that was pretty cool that I thought that something might happen today, and something more actually might take place tonight. Who knows? But I thought it was pretty cool that this Sinwar was killed. I don't know if he was wearing a dress and a burqa, what was going on with the guy, but they accidentally killed him. Not accidentally. I mean, they were killing him, but they didn't know it was Sinwar when he was killed. It wasn't, you know, it was the soldier was just doing his job. So I was like, getting the cross dresser is huge. Getting them on their understanding of tabernacles is hugest. This keeps happening still, Brett, and it's happening to me too, where we're seeing 11:11, and when I see it on my phone, it's just like I'm walking around. My phone's been in my pocket for 3 hours, and something makes me pull out my phone, and I see 11:11. I see it. I had been seeing it for quite some time, so much so I stopped talking about it because it happens all the time. But Brett made a comment, and I also noticed that when we pull our phones out, the first thing we don't do is look at the time. We hit the button and turn the phone on. Then you have to turn the phone back off. Then you turn it back on so that you can get the screen back up, and then you can take a screenshot. And I made a comment about a year ago that I had plenty of time, so much time. I had so much time for this not to switch to 11:12. But nowadays, and Brett, again, from God's Land Down Under, made this comment, and I was like, that is happening. Where now I get my phone out, I see 11:11, it doesn't dawn on me. I hit the button to see I say, wait a second, that's 11:11. Turn it off, turn it back on so I can get the screen back up, and you can see that I just miss it. I've just been missing 11:11. It's switching over to 11:12 before I can take the picture, just like Brett said. And I was like, yes, that's true. That has been happening. I hadn't put that together. And I think Brett said means we're out of time. Time is done. We've passed the 11:11. I was listening to Chris over at Global Rapture Watcher right there. All right. End Time Watchman just made a video. Very, very good. He also did math, and I took a picture of this. It says September the 24th, 2017, the Revelation 12 sign. If you add 2,595 days, that's a 1260 plus a 1335. This type of stuff shouldn't happen. But no matter where you're doing your math from and to and distance to back, it's subtracting, adding, it's all landing around the time we're in now. How does this continue to happen? It won't happen again next year because these numbers won't fit. They won't fit next year at all. November 1st, the date of the flood, October the 31st. I thought that he did it was a really cool find that he had at Patrick at End Time Watchman. Really good. So we're all just trying to figure this out, trying to get to the bottom of when this rapture is going to occur. The Bible says we're not going to know the day or the hour, but I think we're going to be within the day and an hour of this thing. We're going to have this We're so intent on figuring this out. The exact day and hour, I think, is hidden from even Satan. Satan knows the time is close, but he wasn't in the room when God set the time up. God set that up before he ever laid the foundations of heaven and earth, and the angels can't live outside of heaven. So they were created after heaven was created. And we see that before the first day of creation, where God created everything prior to the first day of creation. And I think in that moment there is when he created everything and he created angels. Angels don't have to have oxygen and all the things we need. So heaven is different, but they can't live outside of it. So as we go forward, well, back then, before he created them, he already had the date set. It was set. Satan does not know the date. He only knows what the Bible says, and that's 6,000 years. And we're coming up on that like a freight train. It's being wound down to the last possible minute. Again, none of this math will work next year. The 1260, the 1290, the 1335, none of it will fit next year because it literally, from what I can see, it all ends on the day of the flood. The day of the flood, that's the day that Adam sinned. He sinned on October the 31st. He sinned. He was in the garden for 7 years and 47 days. Heshvan 17 is the 47th day of the 8th year when he was in the garden. 7 years, 47 days, he sinned. Now, God didn't actually remove him from the garden for another 45 days. 45 days later, he waited until the end of Hanukkah. He was actually removed on December the 17th. Hanukkah goes from December the 8th to December the 16th, and he was actually removed and that would be the last day of that Hebrew month as well, and moved out of the garden on the first day of the fourth month, which is, you know, God brought judgment to Adam on October the 31st. God brought judgment. Isaiah 53. Peter's calling me Isaiah 53. I'm making a video. I can't answer your call right now. He's calling me on WhatsApp. I'll have to call him back after this. So he judged Adam on that day. He came down to the garden. Adam, where are you? He says, I hid myself because I was naked. He says, because of what you have done. And he passed down judgment. He did the same thing on October the 31st. Nothing's new under the sun. He did the same thing on October the 31st when the flood happened. Same exact day, same exact thing. What makes us think that judgment isn't going to come October the 31st, just 7 years prior to the 2,000-year anniversary since Jesus went to the cross? What makes us think that judgment will come again on October the 31st? I know a lot of people are saying the rapture can only happen on this day or that day. I don't think so. I think to be honest with you, the obvious is not going to be obvious. Satan can't know, and Satan might even start lowering his guard. Well, trumpets passed, tabernacles, but now and tabernacles will pass the Shemini Atzeret's on the day that Noah enters the ark. So, Satan's like, oh, I confuse all the calendars, but he knows that it's not tabernacles. But is he going to go like, well, it passed, so it's not going to be this year. It's going to be next year, or maybe it'll be the spring feast or the Feast of Weeks or something next year. But again, the math doesn't work next year. It just doesn't. So is that going to be God's surprise at that point to say, I'll take him on whatever day I feel like? You can do that, right? So, all right. Go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know, and you don't need to tell anybody. And accept the Lord into your heart. This is a private moment between you and your Creator. After that, He's given you a beautiful gift of salvation. Go tell somebody else. Bring more into the kingdom, because that's the Great Commission. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to tell other people. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And please subscribe to those channels I talked about, because they are going to be the stored up wheat during the period of time while we're in heaven. They're not going to get, the restrainer will be gone, but the Holy Spirit will still be here saving. and he will save through all of the work the stored up grain. They're going to eat the same grain that they ate the previous 7 years, except this grain was stored up. So while the Holy Spirit led us through all this stuff that we understand and all the math, they're going to be diving into all this work that we did. There will be no new revelations coming to them, new revelation to show them, like, what we have found. Oh, I didn't look at this, what I found. And we're like, wow, how did you find that? And so it's been like that for the past 7 years from what I've seen, and all this new stuff and new information coming out. But in the last 7 years, it won't be like that. They're going to have to reference that stored up grain. It's already pulled, it's already picked, it's already grown, and it's stored up, and it'll be here that they find it on, I believe, in people's books that they've written, in YouTube videos and TikTok videos, and all the sort of information. I think the power is going to go out for a few days, but it's going to come back online. And I don't give Satan that much credit to go in and just wipe us all off of here. I don't believe that's true. Uh, in order to do that huge of a sweep, I think they'd accidentally take out some important information that they need. So, all right, Repo Man 64. We'll chat with you again on the other side.